We're live.
Very silent. Very silent.
Yo, man, it's your man DJ Seiko back again with DJ Polo, and I love that team. I love that, man. Yo, it's Golden Fold Radio on YAP Radio and Golden Fold Radio. We talk about fatherhood, and today with us we have Paul Brinson. I actually know him about a couple of different terms, but we're going to go with Paul Brinson right now.
Good.
Financial specialist. You'll have to hold the mic up when you talk.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to talk about his experiences as a father. And as is the tradition of Golden Fold Radio on YP Radio, we're going to talk about 4 things that challenged you as a father, and 4 things that were triumphs. 4 things that really you can sit back and say, man, I'm really proud of that. And your story is one that's very unique, and it's going to help a lot of other fathers out there navigate their waters. We all got our waters to swim in, and them waters can be kind of hot sometimes.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you inviting me out here tonight. When you let me know you needed me, I'm here.
That's what's up.
I appreciate that, Seiko, because I've known you for a number of years, and you've always been doing positive things in the community.
Well, speaking of positive things in the community, man, let's talk about your experiences as a father in the community. Now, we talked a little earlier before we went on the set, and you mentioned that there were 5 things, and we're going to break it down to 4, that you thought were kind of challenges. One of them dealt with finance. Mm-hmm. One of them dealt with being immature, partying. Yeah. All right. One thing dealt with not necessarily raising your son with a spiritual bent.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. And the thing that I thought was real deep was you said you weren't as sensitive to the needs or the environment that women and the effect that a woman can have in raising a child. So we're going to bring those 4 things out. But why don't we start with talking about how you became a father and how you ended up becoming a single father?
Sure.
All right.
Well, how I became a father, you know how that happened. But I became a father at
by getting it in
the young age of 18, and my story is I was a PK, a preacher's kid.
Oh, word.
And what that means is brought up in the church, or should I say, being forced to go to church.
Okay.
Maybe part of the story of we kind of talk about this next 30 minutes is it all kind of bases from a child and the decisions that you make and how it can affect you.
True.
I say being dragged in the church, but I appreciate those seeds that were dropped in me.
Okay.
But what I realize now is that maybe it took a little later for things to flourish as I got older. But I remember as a teen, 13, 14, I remember at church going to the youth seminars talking about teen pregnancy. I remember starting off where my father wanted to have that conversation, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough. So I was like, I remember, and he'll bring it up. He's like, I want to talk to you about he said the birds and the bees. I was like, oh, I know, daddy. But really, because I was immature. Right. And so, we had a conversation, but we didn't have it at a mature level that it really needed to be. Well, let me take that back. He was probably saying it, but I wasn't ready. With that being said, I went to the seminars and of how teen pregnancy rate was going up, and the truth of the matter is, on the first or second opportunity, when it came time for me to strap up, I did not.
Gotcha.
And with that being said, it's a bad decision.
So Raw Dog made you a daddy.
Yeah. RDD. Yeah, definitely. And so with that, my story is kind of funny because this was back in 1990 when my son was born. Now, before then, it was my first year at Norfolk State that summertime.
Oh man, you didn't get it at the shorty short. The shorty short?
What's the shorty short?
Okay, that was
okay, yeah, I don't know.
A lot of babies are made from the shorty short.
But when they found out she was pregnant, they actually sent her to Texas. I'll never
snap. Okay.
So it's things where I'm here in Virginia Beach and they send her away. And during that time, months went by, and of course she had the baby. And with my situation particularly, I just knew that I wanted to be a great father.
Okay.
But I knew that child was not in my life. I remember having several conversations with her, and her home life was not the way that it needed to be. And I remember calling down to Texas, and her father would be on the phone yelling. And this was the last straw when I knew I needed to get my son. He was telling her, who you're talking to, that daddy, he's not going to be anything. Talking about me, he's not going to be anything.
Whoa.
And you know, my child was just an infant. I knew it at that moment. I had to get my son. It would be whatever I had to do to get it, because I was raised in the church. For me, I knew that meant marriage. And so with that, I pushed. Actually, first I went to my father, and I told him that I needed to go get my son. Now, the biggest thing, because this topic is big, the biggest thing, though, however, my son's mother did was that she let me take my child at that time. Now, that's a big thing, because
that's real big.
Can I ask a question?
All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think that she let you take him because she recognized, was it something that you were showing that was like, hey, he's better off with him, or was it a I don't want responsibility type deal?
It was, and I mean this from the heart. It was truly, he's better off with him, because I'm going to my first year of college, and she was actually going to 11th grade, had got kicked out the house, was working, I think, a McDonald's and a Taco Bell, had an apartment with somebody who, you know, when I flew down to Texas, that's when I saw her circumstances.
Right.
So she got kicked out of the apartment, that's how she ended back home, and now you have this child, and I feel bad that I had ruined her life. It was so many things, but I knew I had to get my son.
Not for you.
And so with that, we made the trip. And we didn't have to go to court to say that she was a bad mom or anything. You know, she let me take him. And with that, we got engaged. And it was one of those engagements. That's why I said the whole story is being young and dumb. Because, well, at that time, of course, you know, I loved her.
Okay.
But now that I'm 42, I know what a real marriage is, and it's just.
Shouts out to your wifey.
Yeah, exactly.
Salute.
Hello, Andrea. I wasn't ready.
Okay.
I wasn't ready, and that's the whole thing of kids having kids. The whole story is where I'm saying that I'm testifying. My testimony is I wasn't ready. You're not ready for this responsibility.
Gotcha.
And the effects of not being ready, and now you have this child that has to eat. And how for some people it can make you mature into a man, and then for others it makes them run. You ever heard like fight or flight? You know what?
Yeah. That's real. That's real.
So you don't. You know, until you're in that situation, it's just what are you gonna do with those circumstances?
Okay. Now, and what's wild, man, is I was at the airport when you got off the plane.
That's right.
And you walked off the plane with your son in your hand, and your father was behind you. It was wild, man, because you were ahead, you were holding your son, and your father was behind you. And I thought that was just a powerful scene for me. It kind of hit me.
It's hitting me now.
It hit me. And the biggest thing I was sitting there, I was like, man, I'm glad I ain't got no chick pregnant. But it was a powerful scene. All right, so you went to Texas.
Yeah, came back with your son? I'm tearing up now if you don't see that. This is real.
All right.
Because you were there. And I did get off that plane.
Right.
And I had my son. My father was behind me. And that said something.
Yeah.
You know, standing behind me. And I can only imagine he was laughing at me. It's like Paul don't know what he's in for. Because at this time, I mean, if I had a job, it wasn't much of a job. I was still living at home. I'm still being supported by my father in every sense of the word. We got off that plane and we're going right back to Kobe Way in College Park to live there with my father. So that's deep. So now we're home. I have my son. I'm trying to adjust to having this kid, and I'm enrolled in school. Of course, that didn't. School didn't work out, but now I look at the excuse was I could say, well, you know, I had to take care of my son, I had to work, but everything fell apart because once again it's a child doing adult things where I wasn't ready.
Right.
So I ended up dropping out of school. Now I have my son. I had got engaged to the young lady, and it was one of those engagements where I love you, she loves me, we're gonna get married. And I did plan on marrying her, but I also remember after 2 months time of me taking my son, months went by and I didn't hear from her. We were out of contact with each other.
Yeah, I remember
Out
that.
of contact.
Right.
And for me, truly, the thing was, all I know is that I wanted my son and I was happy. And I think maybe 6 months after I got my son, the doorbell rang, and guess who was at the door? the young lady from Texas. Unannounced. And we got married, I believe, 2 weeks later.
Wow. Okay.
But it was okay. I was going to step up. I was going to step up to do the right things. So I thought. Now you're young. Go ahead.
All right. Well, that leads me to the question. You mentioned that in our early conversation that you wish you would have been more sensitive to the needs
Sure.
of a mother, of a woman.
Yeah.
And you're wondering now how that could have affected the life of your son. So what things were you not sensitive to from a fatherhood standpoint? I'm not talking about from a husband standpoint, but even though they kind of blend together.
Right. Well, looking back, basically we were together maybe 2 years where we did live together, and of course we broke up, and I ended up getting custody. So now here I am, my son. By this time, my son, I don't know, might be 4, 5, 6, but I got custody of my son, and here I am, the single parent. And I think some of those things I say as far as now trying to mature to the man that I am is recognizing all the things that a great woman brings. And these are things now that even as a husband, it's all through my wife that I realized these things that maybe I took for granted. I'm sure there were things in every woman I've come across that I'm too immature to recognize. So some of the things I know offhand is that it's just the stereotypes of a man being a man being strong. I mean, say it could be something as simple as my son's on the basketball court, and he gets hurt. And as soon as I see that he's breathing, get up. No, you don't cry. You know, these type of things. Well, maybe now if I see if it was a mom there, like my son played high school basketball.
Okay.
But I've seen when there's an injury on the court, and the mom gets up and she runs down there and she runs on the court, you know, to love and console her child, which I definitely understand. But you know, had it been my son, I wouldn't have ran just immediately like that. I would have waited. I would have, you know, and get up, and really mean get up. So just being more sensitive. I believe sometimes in a lot of situations a woman is more sensitive to things.
Well, you kind of lead to the point that you weren't able to do both energies. You were able to do the father energy, and you're thinking now that your son, even though he turned out great, may have missed out from having that motherly energy throughout his development.
I agree. Now, with that being said, of course, after I had custody of my son, I love my mother, his grandma, who stepped in to play that role. And maybe that's where he got those things from. But the majority of the time when he was with me, I know I wasn't able to. You know, this is looking back that if I could, I don't know. I would say I should have been softer. Or I don't know.
No, brother.
I don't know.
I strongly disagree. I take it your son is African American.
Yes,
right?
he is.
All right. African American young males do the worst thing, in my opinion, that they can see is a sensitive, soft male figure. I think that the man should just go ahead and stay out that child's life if he's gonna be sensitive and weak. We don't have enough examples of strength.
But see, this is where I disagree with you. You took sensitive to meaning weak.
Ooh.
And I don't see that.
Okay, talk to me.
I see now for me, I see sensitive as in the example I gave as maybe more caring.
Okay.
Not saying I didn't love him, because of course, you know, I love my son. You know, everybody loves their children, but it's being able to, it's like that bravado thing of showing it. And you know, I don't, you know, it's hard. It's hard.
So if you would have balanced it, you would have gave him a hug. You all right, son? All right, now get up. Get your tail up.
Maybe.
So you would have. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I look at my relationship now. I was raised with both my parents in the home.
Right.
And so so I saw the dynamics of what my father brought to me and what my mother brought to me, what my mother brought in my relationship. My father, I was scared of my daddy. my daddy brought the heat.
Right.
You know, I have stories of, and this is real. I have stories of, like, you know, he put that fear in. When my daddy came home, if I was in my bed watching TV, I would turn off the TV, open up a book, and then by the time he opens up that door, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'd be like, "Studying, Father." And I'm laughing, but that's real because in my household, we were taught where you have to do something. You can't waste time. And now even that goes to relationships with just the mistakes I made. Man, this conversation is deep. I feel it's mistakes, so many mistakes I made with my son. And it all comes because I wasn't mature enough. Things like that. Maybe in the house where now I'm young and dumb, and now I have my son, and now I can think about how many times I stepped. Let me put it this way. When I came home, do you think my son put the PlayStation down and picked up a book and said, "I'm reading, Father"? No, he didn't. And that's for me. That's the seed I planted in him.
Now, what year was he born?
He was born in 90.
He's a 90s baby.
He was born in 90. He's 20, and he's 24 now.
Do you think technology influenced any of that? Like, he's all right with that? At least I know that he's here in the house. Because a lot of parents are doing that now. They give the kid the PlayStation, say, "I know where he's at. He's in his room."
I think yes, but no. Because what I'm saying is, like, we had Atari 2600. It was just coming out. But what I am saying is the accountability factor that my father brought in the household that I do know that I didn't bring to my own household.
You didn't hold your son as accountable as your father held you accountable, possibly because you were still rebelling because you were immature. Not knowing. I know we're going off topic, but it's all fatherhood. Today, as I sat in church, and I'm so proud because my son came to church with me today with his girlfriend, and they're living together. Okay. They've been living together 6 weeks, but they came to church, and my minister, Dr. McGee, he told a story of when he was raising his son. Now he's in this my pastor's 49, I'm 42, but he told a story of, and he was in hip hop and stuff. He said that when his son was growing up, he didn't want him listening to the Snoop Dogg and all the hip hop, but he knew he had to replace that with something. So what he did is he made sure that they went to the gospel music section, and they started getting MCs that were talking about God. And I was like, wow, that's marvelous. He said because he knew it was there. Now, he said he knew his son would go to school and he was getting the other, but he said he wanted to be sure. He said he wanted to be sure that he was putting that into his life. And as I sat there, and my wife knew, my feelings sunk down, man. I think I carry a lot of guilt. I carry guilt because now that I've matured, I can look back and see the mistakes that I made. And so you're thinking if you would have become a father at a later age,
I would have matured and I would have been able to put those things in place that I didn't. The things now, like if I was to have a child now, things would be a different. it would be different as that child was in my home.
And that's the thing about
I was too lax.
I think that's one thing about fatherhood, man. Fathers, you're supposed to take somebody and move them farther. The word farther and father are one R different. But if you're young, if you're still immature, you can't see further.
Yeah.
You cannot see further than the adults that are raising you. Hey, don't do that. I ain't going there.
No, but it's and that's the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. So it's so many. Another issue we talked about, the disappointments is the things that, and I'll share. I'll be transparent.
Okay.
Growing up in the house with hip hop, and that's what I was saying. This is why I felt so bad going back to the story because I'm thinking today. I was like, wow, that's marvelous that he did that. That he understood that he wanted to get the word of God in him. And then I think back to me, and here comes my son from the age of, who knows, from 3rd grade to 12th grade, and he's coming down. Yeah. And he grew up, and I was rapping, trying to be a rapper.
Right.
Had on BET, had MTV, doing these same things.
But let me hit you with something. You surrounded your son with, let's say, gangster, thug, hip hop.
Yes.
Your pastor said he surrounded his son with religious hip hop. It was both hip hop.
That's true, but
right.
it's the message is what I'm saying. It's the message, it's the maturity of trying to plant the seed of something else that I feel like I didn't do. and how it even affected me with mine. Because the truth of the matter is, now we can go on hip hop. Is that so? In my household, my father went to Morehouse, my mother went to Spelman. They always push education.
Salute.
But here I am again, the immature guy, where okay. But now I'm going to check out Run DMC and how I started to see these images and how I started turning into Paul going to church, and Paul who wanted to run the streets.
Now, you don't think that that gospel hip hop is what you just said? Paul in the church and Paul running the street? Because at the end of the day, that hip hop ain't gospel. And that might confuse or put that child out in the world more than they should.
What do you mean hip hop
Exposes them to something.
That's interesting.
See, now if you expose them to hip hop, you that strong male figure in the household, he know that he ain't wrong. I mean that he's wrong when he's wrong, because he has an example. But if you have a man giving a child Christian hip hop, he's confused. Wait a minute, time out. Whoa, wait a minute. I thought Snoop. How come Snoop ain't on the track with Kurt Franklin? Wait a minute, is this okay to do because it's hip hop?
I kind of disagree with you on that, but we'll talk about that on the hip hop show. So we talked about your immaturity, your decision at that time not to surround your child with a spiritual upbringing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Finances. You mentioned that finances was one of the areas.
Yeah, I'm just shaking my head. It's just a double-edged sword. I mean, because for one, like I was in school. If I could just go back and I would be like, Father, what is it that you want me to do? I will do. I mean, seriously, if I could go back, everything that he sees, and that's why I don't have anybody to blame but myself. Is me, is what I'm saying, for everything. Because I can't say, hey, I didn't have a daddy, I didn't have a mama, I didn't have the information. The information was put right there. Paul, do this, do that, and I did not. I didn't do it. So it just overlaps. So now, who's to say? But I guess if I had stayed in school, got more of an education, maybe at a younger age, I would have been able to make more money than what I was making. But now, if I'm a single parent, I have one income, and now it's that same thing you always hear about. I mean, look, it's one income as opposed to two. It's one income.
One income, gotcha.
And it's not one income where I'm a doctor. So so I guess what I'm saying is how you always hear about single mothers struggling and trying to make it. So are the single fathers, depending upon the choices that they made to put them in the situation that they're currently in. And it just keeps going. It's a domino effect. It's a domino effect, and it goes back. I feel it's once again maybe if I feel like if I had waited on sex, and if I had sex to then protect myself. But even that, what did I say? All those seminars I went to, protect yourself. And when the opportunity came, I did.
Now let me ask you something. This is a real question right here. You talk about protecting yourself. In that moment when a young man is with a female, we all got that option where sometimes you look at the condom and you make that decision to or not to. What do you say to the young man besides the what possibly could come after to keep them from doing that and using that protection? What can you say to him?
I'm laughing now because this is deep. Now who hears this show exactly? Is this what age is?
Man, it's the internet, so it's kind of open.
Well, I'm gonna be transparent. I think some of the things, and here you talk about a triumph. And I feel like here's a triumph with my son.
Okay. All right, yeah, hit us with a triumph.
Now, of course, I wasn't there. I wasn't there when he was doing what I told him not to do, but he left evidence as far as, and he got in trouble. Here he is. I come downstairs, and I see rappers. And at one point, it's that
WRAPER.
Okay. Exactly. And unfortunately, that was something that I saw constantly. But as I was, what are you doing? It's crazy. What are you doing in this house? This is my house. And even talking about fathers. So here I am, the same things. I mean, let's keep it real.
Okay.
The same thing that that I would yell at him about. I knew 20 years later I had done the exact same thing.
20 years earlier.
Right. And I mean, as far as sneaking your girlfriend in the house, or my parents sleep, just all of these things. Nothing changes but time. So here I am now, but now I'm the father coming down. What what is this? What is this? I knew you were here. And you definitely gave it away when I see this makeshift sofa on the floor. at least have enough decency. But, so, and that's something that I saw constantly that it was different maybe I think when AIDS came about and the education of AIDS. Because when we were growing up, it was just more so pregnancy. But when I was to speak to my son, it was pregnancy and, hey, you will die.
Right.
And this is real. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I think. And then as I got older, of course, I changed too. As far as knowing, it's like all maturity once again. Because then, of course, after I had a child, then here I am a father, and realize I need to protect myself. I don't want another child, and I don't want to die. Especially,
don't want to knock her up. You don't want to kick the bucket.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Got you. All right. Well, hit us with two other triumphs, man. What are two other things that you're really proud of when you look back at your fatherhood experience? He's 24, right?
Yeah, he's 24.
Salute to that. Salute.
Yes. I'm proud that he's alive and kicking, and that I'm proud of the relationship we have. My father and my son and I, we recently formed a business this year. It's called Larry's Laugh House Factory.
Applause button.
Yeah, my son's first name is Larry.
Right.
And we have a bounce house. We do kids parties, and that's something that has really brought us together. It was his idea. Okay. I told him no, I'm not going to do that. And within like 3 weeks, he started getting bookings. And he don't have a truck. I have a truck, and it was. Right. And I'm out there, and I said, you know what? We are gonna do this together.
Yeah.
And so he's moved out, but yet I talk to him 3 times a day now. It's our bond.
Ooh. That's real, man. Because even with my parents, man, I say my father, but my mother is just as much as part of fatherhood in my life. Because just a little thing. I started my station. He let me use his truck, and I didn't have no SUV to put the speakers in there.
That's right.
I mean, your parents believe in you, but at the same time, you talking spending the money.
That's right.
And investing. Like, hold on.
Yeah.
What you gonna do with this?
That's real. That's real.
So that's real that you did it. And what we need to do is, man, we need to network. Cause we had Yap Fest.
Okay.
Do it for the community.
Okay. That's
Prostate cancer awareness, man.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I love it.
Applause button.
I love it.
All right. So what's one other thing that you're proud of with your fatherhood experience?
One other thing I'm gonna bring up. This might be a little off topic as far as my fatherhood experience. It goes back to how when you brought up how when you saw that. Now you were there, Seiko.
I know.
You were there. You saw me coming off a plane from Texas. You saw my father behind me and me holding my son.
Right.
Who was maybe 1.5, 2, walking down. Now here I am stepping into fatherhood.
Into fatherhood.
That's right. And it's I'm proud of the relationship and the communication that must be put forth. You have to put time and effort into a relationship because it was not easy. There are highs and there are lows. But the other thing for me, I guess I was gonna say, like with my father, I was adopted. And by me being adopted, and I was like, this man who's had my back, who is my daddy, who is my father, and I swore that, from that relationship, I wanted to do the same thing. I want to be all those things that my father was to me. Right, and I think that's why I feel bad, because I feel guilty because I put my father on a pedestal of he has all these accomplishments, has a doctor's degree and everything, and had all these high standards, where I just kind of didn't have those standards. I just want to be responsible for my son, to show him so that he can teach his.
And now you're using that same influence as this relationship continues to build with your son.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So it's not too late. You're still using it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So,
all right, man. Well, are we at that time, man?
Yeah, we at that time.
We're at that time. All right.
Oh, it went so quick. No.
Hey, we thank you for coming, bro. Man, it's a every week thing. We doing this every Sunday to reach the community. I'm not a father, but I recognize the importance in having dialogue and raising awareness, because if you know better, you'll do better. And
That's
sometimes
right.
it's just about hearing the truth.
That's right. Hey, I appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Indeed.
All right.
Man, you kicked it off.